I think of ourselves as the leaders in digital marketing in the real estate industry. And our goal is to cut out all of the BS, so to speak, that you have to deal with in order to convert and then let you guys shine as agents.
Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini. I'm meaty, on me only, I'm meaty. Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini.
Left for a minute, I did not sweat it. Look at the cash I'm spending. There it goes.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Stroke of Success. Today's guests are people I met earlier this month in May, actually, at Ylopo. For those who don't know what Ylopo is a marketing software company for real estate, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think of ourselves as the leaders in digital marketing in the real estate industry. And I'd say that the three core parts of the platform is we generate you a ton of opportunities to new leads. We take your existing lead database and all of the leads we generate for you, and we nurture them for as long as it takes to become an opportunity for you, which could be as long as a year or two. And then we have a suite of communication tools, from an AI chatbot to our call center, that is going to tee up essentially appointments for the agent. So our goal is to cut out all of the BS, so to speak, that you have to deal with in order to convert and then let you guys shine as agents.
Awesome. That's it. We're done. Podcast over. Let's go. So let me go back to my recap. I heard of Ylopo, Howard Tager, the CEO founder.
Yep.
He and I think a gentleman who started Follow Boss did a thing on Facebook 4 years ago. And I heard the name, and this is right after Robert Slack, 2018. And I remember the whole thing about Ylopo is monopoly, spelled backwards or upside down?
Backwards. That's right.
Okay. So start from there. What's that about? How did that whole thing come about, G?
Yeah. Great question. So, the journey to Ylopo was very interesting. So first off, I'm a digital marketer by background. I build marketing technology, and it just so happened to be in, I got into real estate somehow. I was not in real estate. And I was a 24-year-old young buck when Howard hired me for his last business, which was called Tiger Lead Solutions, which was one of the OGs of what we call all-in-one systems in the industry. If you're familiar with Boomtown, Commissions Inc., Sierra, Chime, these are all kind of systems that evolved out of the story of Tiger Lead, right? And Howard, for whatever reason, crazy enough, made me the head of marketing and product for that business at 24. Showed me, a lot of confidence in my abilities, and I really learned and grew up in that environment, servicing agents, mostly teams, mostly high-performing teams, and I just learned a tremendous amount during that in that experience. That business was acquired by Realtor.com in 2012. I stayed there for about, 6 months to a year, obviously not a big company guy. And so, felt the call of entrepreneurship as that process was going on. And the origin story of Ylopo is I actually went to a advertising conference, ad tech conference in San Francisco. And, I think I had put into the universe, like I was looking for a technical co-founder, a really good technologist that could complement me. And by happenstance, on the elevator down to the convention, I met a South African named Vian. And we only talked for about 30 seconds. It was like very brief, but there was a spark there, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I said, hey, let's grab drinks, at the end of the day. And we got together and we just literally talked all night till like midnight, and we were talking about obviously life and, our backgrounds, but just deep marketing theory.
Insane. That's insane.
Super technical, geeky shit that, that only true geeky marketers would ever think about. I said, look, you're in South Africa, I'm here, but I'm doing a backpacking trip through Southeast Asia. Why don't I just come to South Africa at the end of my trip and let's just meet and talk, right? And he was like, oh, sure, whatever, you'll come to South Africa. This is not Johannesburg, this is not Cape Town, right? He's in a, a city called Bloemfontein, South Africa, right?
Never heard of it.
Never
Yeah.
heard of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's the state capital, or the nation capital, I believe, actually. But it's a capital in the sense of like Sacramento is the capital of California, right? Like we think of the Bay Area or Los Angeles. And so I did a backpacking trip, all through Southeast Asia. Really enjoyed it. Was by myself. And at the end of that trip, I flew to South Africa, and I went to Bloemfontein. And I spent a month with Beyond, and he had a team there. He had a business, and we really vibed. And I said, let's start a company. And we knew that it was going to be in the real estate realm somehow, but not sure what it was going to be. I mean, we meandered from rentals to mortgage, and then finally back into real estate. And and so Vian was the one who he loves spelling things backwards. That's his stick, right? And so we were like, we need a 5-letter domain so everyone can remember, and it needs to not have real estate or some systems in it, because every single company does that, right? And so we did a ton of research, and somehow came up with Ylopo. And I think it's really, it turns out to, and Howard, my co-founder, he used to hate the name. It's like, Ylopo, what's that, right? Ylopo, we've heard it all. But I think it really signifies what our attitude is, which is we want to turn the status quo upside down and constantly do that, not just once, but constantly be evolving, constantly be innovating. And, it's turned into, a badge of honor, and certainly something that you could build a brand around, right? That it's unique.
Question, what year did the company come about?
So that was about 2013. We, started out in the rental space doing some stuff there. And then we thought we could build a platform for the mortgage industry, similar to what Ylopo is today. And actually, Ylopo has a mortgage division as well. But back then, I think, it was still a refi cycle. And, LOs were not really paying attention to purchase. And so we, didn't get too much traction there. As we were doing mortgage lead generation, we just started always going back to our roots of like, how is this going to help the agent? How is this going to help the agent? Right. And so at some point we're like, well, we're just creating an agent product. Right. And I think there were a couple of major insights that drove the business. The first that we learned from the mortgage space, right? The first is that there is the ability now on the digital web to do demographic targeting, right? I can target you as a veteran. I can target you as a homeowner looking to trade up or trade down. If for mortgage, USDA was huge. I can target rural buyers, right? And, in real estate had traditionally just been like, whoever comes to my website that's a lead, and that's who I'm going to work with.
Yeah.
And we kind of took that model and said, what if we get really targeted about this, right? And that was the advent of our Facebook strategy, right? Because we were kind of out of the gate entirely Facebook. The second was, at Tiger Lead Solutions, we built our own CRM, because there was no CRM on the market that really, was any good. And our natural instinct was, we're going to do it again, right? We're going to build a world-class CRM. But when I surveyed the landscape, and we had limited resources then, right? Like we this is a business that I am very proud of that was extremely capital efficient. There are companies in the space that have raised, $100 million to do what we do. And we basically took it, from beginning to profitable in about $3 million, It's just, incredible lean journey, right? So we had limited resources, and I looked around the landscape and I said, there are so many, back in the day, there were so many CRMs out there, and I said, I'm a digital marketer. I'm the head of product, right, at Ylopo. I'm a digital marketer. What do I know about the systems and processes that real estate agents want in their business flow, right? Which is what CRMs are all about. And so we surveyed the market and we said, look, let's Ylopo focus on the things that Ylopo is especially good at, which is digital marketing technology, right? And let's partner with the best in class CRMs that are out there. Those CRMs can do their thing, which is really understand the agent client as a client, and we can do our thing, which is while having agents in mind, serving the consumer, right? Because that's ultimately what is going to drive business. And so we developed what we call a one-to-all strategy. We are going to be the one, and we're going to integrate with all, right? And that was really fortuitous. That was probably the fork in the road moment that allowed Ylopo to be successful, because now we partner with great CRMs. Our main partner is Follow Up Boss, where they are focused on their one thing, which is creating the best CRM. We're focused on our one thing, which is creating the best digital marketing suite. And I think that for the industry, they're so used to, the industry is so used to this all-in-one concept, the boomtown sync, et cetera. And the challenge there is they've got to compete with me on digital marketing when that's all I think about all day long. My entire team's focused on digital marketing. And they've got to compete with Follow Boss, which all day long they're thinking about how to improve their CRM, right? And you're fighting a two-front war. Sure. And it's very hard to, focus in two different areas that are fundamentally different in terms of objective and discipline, right? Sure. And so, we kind of, had early beta clients, et cetera, and really, I think, I would say 2017, would you say, Barry, we met?
Late 2016, early 2017. Yep. Yeah.
So, I'm not crediting Barry for everything, but I am giving a lot of credit to Barry because he was, we as a digital marketer, I was building the platform, with digital marketing in mind, right? I didn't I'm not an agent, I don't understand the perspective of an agent necessarily, other than as clients. And Barry had early success in our platform when others didn't, and so I reached out to Barry and I was like, what's your secret? What are you doing that's different, right? And he really laid it out for me crystal clear. And Barry and I became tied to the hip from a product perspective and understanding. And he taught me so much about the market and what agents were looking for, what consumers were looking for. And so, we kind of partnered together. He was my product partner. And, now Barry is what we call a senior realtor in residence, which means he's in-house on our team, the resident expert on real estate, running a huge team on Ylopo and evangelizing, training, and developing products for our ecosystem. Right?
What a segue to Barry's story. Now, thank you, Guy. Barry, wow. He gave you a lot of credit there.
Well, first of all, let me just say that there are parts of that story that he just told that I didn't even know.
Oh, wow.
What I'll say about G and Howard in that story, people ask me all the time, I was already running a very successful business. I did not want to buy Ylopo already. Tristan Amata from Lab Code Agents was like, dude, you got to get it. You got to get it. And I was like, fine, freaking get it. And G and I started to connect and collaborate. And people ask me all the time, why did you link your wagon up with them? You already had what quality of life, money, and the answer is candidly, it's just like when you watch that Shark Tank show, investors don't invest in products, they invest in people. And the way that G and Howard conducted themselves behind the scenes in meetings, the way they analyzed the business, it just felt different. It was like it was a moment in time where I said, this could be one of those moments where you people come across your path and you latch arms with them and it's life changing. And sure enough, it was, and I'm very confident with some of the stuff we're working on today that it will continue to be. And it's because they do function differently. And the business as a whole actually is passionate about helping real estate agents. I know that because I've got a bunch of liberal arts degrees, right? And I'll give you an example. I'm in a meeting with a bunch of people that have degrees from colleges like Stanford and that are machine learning experts, right? And I get to walk in the room and be like, fix that. That's broken. And the whole company's like, oh, that's genius. That's not normal. That's not normal. Like, it just isn't. It's not normal. And that's how it's been since I started. I literally was a part of developing. I remember one of the first projects when I transitioned to just a user helping to 10 hours a week. And I was like, so scary. 10 hours a week helping. I don't even know if you remember this, G, but my first big project in the company, I got my iPad. It wasn't even a Pro, it was just a regular iPad. And I think I did 25 videos and we put it into a Thinkific course. That was our onboarding as a company. I don't know if you remember that, but it was just like bang, bang, bang. And we just never stopped. You know, and now in the same spirit of G and Howard in bringing me on, I've watched the company behind closed doors collect, you know, other business owners, Facebook marketing platform owners, people that own agencies. Hey, you want to work with us? And it's basically a massive group of really smart entrepreneurs that decided we like each other and we have one drive and one mission, even though we're in like the four corners of the universe. And it's an environment of just genius. And that's why we keep on consistently from a product standpoint. I can confidently say we're 1.5 to 2 years ahead, consistently ahead of everybody else on all the big subjects. And, you know, and what we're about to release is going to do it all over again. You know, people always wonder, you know, is the genius done? Are they, you know, like with Tesla's losing market share. Is Tesla going to come out with something revolutionary again? Like, what are they going to do? Right. And it really comes down to the right people in the organization.
That's amazing. Guys, I'm a big believer of childhood and background. So I'm going to start with both of you. I'll start with Barry. Barry, where are you from, man? Where are you born and raised?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay.
And I bought my first house when I was 18. I started investing and then I got my license and pastored a church for 10 years while I sold houses so that I could pay my bills, and left that career honorably. It was just time for my family to do something else. And, you know, own a franchise and Better Homes and Gardens franchise in Hampton Roads, the Virginia Beach, Virginia area. I've lived here my whole life. And, you know, Howard and G are able to, you know, get me out of Virginia Beach every once in a while now. But that's where I'm from.
What entrepreneurship? What age did you say, wait a minute, maybe I could do this? Maybe not 9 to 5, not for me. Maybe entrepreneurship for me.
Yeah. I had 2 jobs. I was managing a shoe store at the mall. It was an athlete's foot, kind of like Foot Locker. And I was a server at a restaurant. And somebody was crazy enough to give me a line of credit for $100,000 and said, you can buy a house, but it's got a 12-month balloon payment. And I bought the house, flipped it, made, I think, $40,000. And that was more than I was going to make with both jobs that year. And I never looked back. That was at 18. And I remember in college, I took a marketing course and I was just like, this is stupid. Like, and not that college is stupid, but for me, I just knew that I was supposed to go a different path. So I have degrees in, you know, business and theology and all those things.
Was your family supportive when you decided to, you know, leave college and go to entrepreneurship?
You know, I never left college. I just finished it slowly. They were supportive because I was successful, you know, from an early on, you know, buying houses and things like that. It just always worked out. But yeah, they supported the entrepreneurship aspect, and actually my whole family, not everyone in my family, but most of them are entrepreneurs in some way. It's just kind of part of who we are. We're free thinkers and all that stuff.
That's awesome. G, what about you, man? What's your background? Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Hangzhou, China. I stayed there until I was 7. I come from a academia family. You know, both sides of my family are educators, professors, and my parents are scientists. My dad is a chemist and my mom is a biologist. And, I moved here when I was 7 to Syracuse, New York, where my dad was finishing his PhD. And then I subsequently moved many times. I went to 10 different schools across from first grade to senior year of high school, which, and I was only a child, so I would say, was a lonely journey, but it taught me how to adapt very quickly and make friends and, really stretch myself socially, right? I didn't have that comfort of having lifelong friends, although I wish I did. But that served me really well later in life. I think, I love meeting new people, building new relationships. And, I think one of the reasons that I'm in entrepreneurship is that when you're starting a business with folks, you become, brothers and sisters in arms, right? There's, other than war, and being on an NBA team, I don't know what else is comparable in terms of building that level of camaraderie so quickly and to the depth that you go to. And that, I think, at the core of communion is, other than, innovation, is what drives me to start businesses. I had always wanted to start companies. I was 19 when I entered a MBA business plan competition, and I placed second. I was the first undergrad to ever place in the competition. Of course, it was a social network. That was the back in the days of Facebook and MySpace, right? And banged my head against it, literally went to China to get a development team, and it turned into nothing, and I wasted a ton of money. And I thought, oh my God, my main mentor is going to kill me. I spent like $100K, right? That seemed like such a big number back then. And, he kind of, I came back and he said, look, G, I believe in you. This is just your first try. You're going to have many failures before you have successes. And he then introduced me to another mentor who I started a marketing agency with in New York right after college. So I basically punted my senior year of college. My GPA went from like a 3.5 to a 2.8. So imagine how bad I did junior year of college to get that. And then I moved to New York. And I spent 3 years there, really cutting my teeth in digital marketing and primarily for the for-profit education space. So Kaplan University, Phoenix, et cetera, which was really, really competitive market at that time in digital marketing. And moved back here to LA, started a beautiful family. My wife and I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. I would say, like, I call myself a passionate operator. I love operating the business. I think there's some entrepreneurs or, business folks that are like, someday I can automate everything or, have staff do it. And then, I can just focus on the strategy. Right. And I love strategy, but I love the tactical parts of the business, understanding frameworks, understanding comp for, account management, digging into the analytics of sales. I consider, honestly, I think of myself more as an artist than a business person. My art is building businesses and building great products.
Yes, two questions for both of you. Same question. So first question, well, I asked Barry this already. Your parents were support. Look, my parents were from Pakistan, were Asian, right? Either you're a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, or IT. Entrepreneurship is not very common, right?
Yeah.
Now it's getting better and better, more open to it. Your parents were gung-ho about you saying entrepreneurship and not doing academic or anything else?
Yeah. Great question. Even still today, my mom talks about me going back and getting my MBA. And I'm like, why? Like, it's like mid-career. I've started a big company. Like, why would I need to do that? But that's the Asian mentality, as you said, 100%. Right? I think my parents realized very early on that I'm a 0 or 60 guy. Either I'm all in on something or I'm out. And so,
me too. Same way.
Like textbook learning, classroom learning just never worked for me, because I either obsessed about the subject or I just don't care at all and don't go to class. Right. And so, I think they knew that I had to channel all of my energy into whatever I was doing. And if I was going to do that, I might as well be doing it for myself. Right. And so, entrepreneurship I'm the only entrepreneur in my family, in my extended family, like all of the people in China. And, but I think they were incredibly supportive for Asian parents and knew that was the right path for me.
You probably do the best out of your family too. I mean, just be honest, right? I mean,
sure. But not without a lot of failures along the way.
Sure. We're going to get to that second failure. So, second question was, left my mind. I had a question. Oh, you said something that you're still hands-on. And Barry, I'm going to come to you right after the same question. There's a saying these days, entrepreneurs say, well, you're not a really entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, unless you're out the business, looking in, instead of working on it, right? What do you think about that statement? I mean, G, you said you work on it still. I mean, you could technically step back and hire people to run it, right? But you don't. Barry, same thing for you. Like, what do you guys think about that philosophy?
Do you want to go first, Barry?
Well, I'm going to speak for G, and then G, I want you to tell me if I'm right. If G were to step back and quote, let me run it, part of why we do so well is we are obsessed, right? Like, you can run what you've already built, but if you're going to make something new and you're going to innovate, literally do things that other people are not doing, you can't delegate that to other people. So like, I just don't think, I think someone that says that the goal is revenue, like, I just want to make money, right? And once I make my money, I'm going to focus on my quality of life. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going, in my opinion, and G, you can feel free to disagree, but you're not going to innovate by delegating to others. If other people could innovate, they're going to go build their own company. They're not going to, so anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I apologize. I'm late for my next meeting, so I'm just telling him.
We can wrap up in 5 minutes, G. Yeah.
So great question. I think there's a couple of things I believe strongly. The first is that culture is the heart of the business, and I define culture as the spoken and unspoken rules by which we decide to act toward each other. And if I want to create a culture of accountability and passion and grit, then I have to exhibit all those things myself, right? Leadership comes top down, so the day that I don't exhibit those things is the day that sends a cultural signal for the rest of the organization that they don't have to either, right? So I strongly believe in that. The second is that this is why you have partnerships, right? I like being tactical. It's not like I don't love being strategic, but I love being tactical as well. My partner, Howard, he is a visionary, right? And so, he can operate almost entirely at the leadership and strategy layer because he knows that I've got his back and I'm going to handle the rest of the business, right? That's and awesome. So, I think I always say Howard operates at 10,000 feet. I operate at 3,000 feet, and Chris, my CTO and partner, operates at 1,000 feet, right? Awesome. And so, I think when you have great partnerships, you can share that burden of strategic and business, kind of vision. But as a one of your partners, maybe more your partners have to be boot on the ground to reinforce that cultural pillar.
Makes a lot of sense. G, you have to go. Thank you for your time, man. Thank you for jumping on. Barry, you have to go too?
I've got another 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. I'll continue with Barry, G. Thank you. If you want to, you have to go, right, G?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, G, so much. I appreciate you. And G, I'll send you guys the recording was done. It will be nice and edited, so don't worry. It will be nice, polished.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, G.
With following your passions, one of the things that I remember going to G and saying, "Hey, our users really have responded favorably to how I'm teaching them how to convert these middle of funnel, top of funnel leads. I want to write a book about it." And he's like, "Yeah, go for it." And we were joking before actually this call, because I was like, I didn't learn what a noun was until I was in my 20s. Not an academic. I was an athlete, just not really my thing. It's hilarious that I ended up becoming a published author. And I wrote this book, Too Nice for Sales, and it's been on the top 20 on Amazon for over 8 months. And it's a self-published book, but it's basically taking the story of Ylopo and my involvement in lead conversion and sharing that with the world. And so to your original question about entrepreneurship and delegation, I think it's not to say that I'm doing the same thing I always was, because I'm not. In 2017, I was on the phone with like Ylopo customers all day. But as my career shifted within the ecosystem of Ylopo, they allowed me the flex to kind of like follow my passions. And so I think that's the key, is being obsessed, being passionate, and having a creative outlet to kind of do that. When a company suppresses that, that's when people leave and go start other companies. But when they celebrate that and they're like, yeah, go ahead, do it, go for it, it works. And that's where the magic is, in my opinion.
That's amazing. You made a great point there. You're saying give the team members some freedom to express themselves and to the work.
Right.
Yeah. I think that big change is happening. I think that most companies are seeing that. And we're getting away from the button-up shirts and the ties in offices. We got more T-shirts, right? We can wear jeans now. We're wearing blazers now. People have tattoos like yourself. You can walk around. 10, 20 years ago, I don't think you'll be running a major company like this. You wouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's awesome. I love it. But besides the financial and banking industry, Barry, question, man. Like, you're an author, public author. Like, you have kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 children.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old?
14, 6, and 2. All boys. They're amazing.
Okay. I'm a father of 2. I have 6 and 5. I have my podcast. I lead the team of Robert Slack. I have other projects I'm working on. And man, I pull my hair out half the time. And my wife, my partner, my business partner. Question for you, man. Like, so you still have the real estate team?
I have 100 agents.
That's your company. That's your franchise that you own. Okay. And then you are you're with Ylopo. Are you a liaison? Are you an employee of Ylopo? Or like, what's the role? How do you define that?
Yeah. 2018, I think it was, I was 20 hours a week. And then 2019, I was full-time. 2020, I was full-time. Like, not just on paper, it became to where they said, we need you. And the cool thing about that was, of course, I'm not going to give my company up. However, it forced me to leverage and scale so that I'm not in the weeds in the business. I have an office there. I try to work out of that office regularly. I'm still meeting with my agents occasionally. But part of why people have enjoyed working, my smart lists and my concepts are because I had to create an environment that was profitable, but I wasn't monitoring daily. How do you do that? And understanding salespeople and the social proof of one person finding success, and how do you leverage that spark with the rest of the team, and how do you leverage competition in a way that it maintains effort. So organizing all of these things through Follow Up Boss and Ylopo, it's created an environment where my business continues to grow and I don't have to monitor them, daily. So Ylopo allowed me to take a big risk without worrying about financial losses, because I basically was able to promote myself within my own company without worrying about, am I going to be able to pay my bills as a result if this doesn't work out?
Yeah. So you have systems in place in your company right now.
Oh yeah.
You have a GM, general manager, or
Yeah. So my family owns the franchise. So we've got, my dad, my stepmom, my brother, and I'm the chief marketing officer. That's the role. And I run the sales team. And then we have other divisions within the company. We've got a really large relocation account, a really large REO account. And so, we divide and conquer in that realm, but I kept up until probably last year, I kept my team separate. And then last year was the last iteration of this evolvement with my career in Ylopo, because I literally blended my team with the brokerage to where now my brokerage is my team. And, and now the entire brokerage is a testing ground for my new ideas and products for Ylopo. And it just came full circle, man. And it was a hot mess. It was ugly. It was confusing, but it worked out.
In the beginning, you're saying with the formation part of it, it got ugly.
Oh yeah. You talking 2016, 2017? Hot mess. 2016, I was still selling houses, right? Like I was still, not a lot. I was maybe, instead of doing, in 2012, I was doing 10 to 15 deals a month on my own. And then that's why I built the team and all that. But by 2016, I was maybe doing 1 to 2 deals a month on my own, and the rest was my team. And so, it was just this progression of leverage and scale and all that stuff.
Insane.
But I do have to jump onto my next meeting.
Awesome. Barry, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll do a part 2 with you, man. I think a lot of questions for you to ask you about your daily routine, all that stuff, but we'll get to part 2. I'll reach out to you. We'll do another segment.
Yeah. And let me say this. I'm on a lot of podcasts, but I can tell you put a lot of time into the questions you're asking us, and you got information out of G that I didn't even know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you, Barry.
Keep it up. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. We'll be in touch.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.